All right, I'm back with another video the day after. I just got done with my watch party for the day, but I wanted to upload another video. But this time, instead of talking about stories, we're talking about players. And by the way, don't mind this. I shaved this morning and then thought it was funny. Anyway, moving on. So yesterday I highlighted stories going into the 2023 season, but today I jotted out some notes about players that really stood out to me today that I just found very interesting. So a bit of a recap. You know, if you're watching now on Sunday, maybe it's the day after, and you're like, oh, I wonder what went down in the Pro-Am, then, well, yeah, maybe I got some answers for you. So some players that stood out to me. First of all, Seeker from the LA Valiant. LA Valiant, they took on the Paris Eternal in a match that was pretty one-sided. You gotta give Valiant tons of props here. They came into this match with only a week and a half of practice, I believe they said in the post-match interview after they won. So pretty quick turnaround for this team. I like a lot of pieces from the LA Valiant. I'm not saying they're contenders by any means. Well, ironically, they're not contenders anymore. But Krawi, for example, he had a pretty bad stint on the Vegas Eternal last year. But I think he looked pretty decent on Wisp. The Seeker, he had a great moments on Boston Uprising last year, and now Nos had a good Tracer in today's game as well. I think that Nos Tracer, he found picks at times. I specifically liked his timings on Tracer, for example, on Nepal Shrine. He flanked perfectly and racked up some pulse bomb kills and, you know, finished off people as he should have on the Tracer. So Nos stood up to me on the Tracer. But Seeker is the big takeaway away for me, and, you know, sit tight because there's going to be quite a lot of damage players in today's video. But Seeker stood out to me. I think that his hit scan capabilities last year, we saw that he can pop off and just take over games, specifically that match between Boston Uprising and Vancouver Titans last year in the league. Just a great match, and Seeker had an outstanding performance. I think that in today's match between the Valiant and Paris, Seeker proved that he is the focal point of the LA Valiant. They're investing nanos into his Cassidy. He's finding picks repeatedly. They're investing a lot of resources into him. And honestly, because Seeker is worth it. Seeker is a fantastic player, and I think he's probably the best player on the Valiant. So if they're going to succeed, it will be on the back of someone like Seeker's Cassidy. Now, Cassidy is not the only thing that Seeker can play. He also came out with the Sombra in today's match against the Vegas Eternal, and it actually looked quite good. He actually had one of the best plays of the entire match as well when he hacked Alucio out of a sound barrier towards the end of the match, I believe. Just a great match from Seeker overall, and I think that this match really proved that this is someone that you should look out for if you want to be a fan of the Valiant. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the Valiant because of, you know, what we know already, but you know, this roster, I think at least if you want to cheer for the players on this roster, I think that Seeker is someone to cheer for because he can really pop off and have some great moments, and I think he showed it in today's series against the Vegas Eternal. So, moving on. Checkmate from the Florida Mayhem. I talked about Florida Mayhem in yesterday's video as well, but Checkmate had an outstanding series today as well, where he really impressed me. I think that Checkmate, it can't be understated how he's actually combining so well with the rest of his team. Avast joked about Checkmate combining with someone was like Smurf and Striker or something like that on the Winston Tracer. And not quite there, but Checkmate legitimately had some like huge impact moments. I'm not even like meaning or joking anymore. I'm legitimately calling Checkmate a great Tracer player. He would get like double pulse bombs in fights and really get things going for his team. He would clutch up in the fights. He would find picks early. Really just everything you want your Tracer to do. I feel like he was a bit all over the place and in a good way and got things done. He combined with someone on that Winston, and like when you can do that, when you're not only a Tracer that like, yeah, you hit your pulse bombs and you get like kill here and there, but if you can go on like a run and get like 2Ks, 3Ks, we saw Proper, when Proper plays Tracer, the way he like navigates with his blinks, the way he navigates around the environment, the map design, to reduce the amount of damage he's taking. That way he can stay proactive for longer in these fights. He can be more active throughout the fights. And I feel like Checkmate is sort of channeling that energy as well, the way he's blinking around the map. He has a lot of uptime on this Tracer. He's dealing a ton of damage, and he's getting the final blows as well. So Checkmate, I think he was the player of the match for this series as well, because he was that impressive. So Well, with the Florida Mayhem, we talk a lot about Chorong and we talk about Someone, we talk about Merit, because these are some of the most outstanding players on the Florida Mayhem roster. I think that Checkmate, legitimately, he probably had the best match of his career so far in the Overwatch League, and I'm only looking forward to see more and more from Checkmate this season, because I feel like he's really coming into it, and he's playing some of the best Overwatch I've seen him play since he got into the league 2 years ago. Again, like I said yesterday, I just love the story that Checkmate is on as well. I mean, coming into this team and, you know, playing Reinhardt for them because OG couldn't and wasn't there for them, and now he's actually getting to show what he's capable of on this Tracer. We know that he has Genji in his back pocket as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing more from Checkmate. I think he had a fantastic Tracer game in this series today against the Vancouver Titans. That's right, the Vancouver Titans. So a respectable opponent. I mean, you're playing against Sugar Free, and Sugar Free looked good again. The fact that Checkmate is able to hold his own on such a high level, it's really impressive. He's really looking good, and I think it's time we start appreciating Checkmate for what he is, a great Tracer player. So there you go. Next up, the San Francisco Shock. They're back 2-0 against Timeless in today's series, and it got a little close at times. I'm not gonna lie, Shock are not looking like the elite team that they were last year, but they're starting a bit slow. Maybe they'll kick it into gear as this season goes on. But the one to really save it was Proper for this team. He legitimately like clutched up at the end of the first map on Antarctic Peninsula to keep Shock in it. I'm not even joking. Like, they pointed it out on the broadcast too. The desk did, of course. Proper just like 1 versus 4 Timeless to keep themselves in that map. Otherwise, they would have lost that map. So it was a spectacular performance by him. Proper really just like kicked it into gear and showed why he's the MVP of the league in the first place. But I wanted to combine Proper with Heesang, because I don't want to sleep on Heesang's performance either. Heesang came out on the Hanzo, and while Proper probably had the most dominant game when it comes to like final blows and just like sheer impact on the game itself, Heesang got like a ton of final blows on the Hanzo as well. Just like incredible amounts of impact on that damage roll. So Heesang had his quote-unquote breakout game, even if it is against Timeless. Again, tons of like asterisk when you're playing some of these contenders teams, because a team like the Shock, they're expected to just dominate Timeless, right? But I still want to highlight some of these individual performances because it's promising. And you know, it's a moose boosh before the season kicks into gear. It's something to get excited about as we get closer to this season. We know that Heesang is a fantastic player, but for him to now be on the Shock roster, he's not on O2 Blast anymore. For him to be on this roster and really pop off the way he did here in this match against Timeless, really impressive. So I gotta give some prop to Heesang as well. I can't wait to see what Heesang and Proper got in store when the season actually kicks into gear. But yeah, great game from both of those damage players, and this is really what we wanted to see, right? This is really what we wanted to see from the San Francisco Shock duo. So very exciting for them. And finally, the player I want to highlight is Sparker from the Lone Spitfire. I think the Sparker really kept Lone Spitfire alive in this series. I think that the Lone Spitfire, they've been playing a bit slower on this Reinhardt composition so far this year, but Sparker on this Cassidy, the way they like navigate around him, they utilize Hadi's shield, for example. They let him find picks. There were so many fights, especially with Saints, where they dive really aggressively with the Lucio. They get out the Suzu as well, and they just go super aggressive. That's where Sparker on the Cassidy is having a tremendous amount of impact and getting picks. Like, there were so many times where Saints would dive in. They would find 2-3 picks off the aggressive Kiriko dive, but then Sparker would like counter it with 2 picks by himself, and it'd just be a big turnaround for the Lone Spitfire, and they would outlast the dive that's kind of weak from the Saints. So really impressive performance by Sparker. As a Swede, I'm naturally, of course, very proud of my fellow Swede. I can't wait for the World Cup. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't wait for the World Cup and see Sparker and Kevster combined, because that's gonna be a sick team. Initially, I wanted to be Sharp. I really believed in Sharp, who was on the Atlanta Reign for a while, but Sharp kind of faded out, and now it's all the hype is about Sparker instead. So we're getting the World Cup this year. I'm looking forward to see Sparker and Kevster play together. But yeah, Sparker was a standout player today for the Lone Spitfire, and they're playing well around him as well. So I think we'll see more great moments from Sparker on the Cassidy and everything else here for the Lone Spitfire. So here we go. Some of the shout outs I got from today's day 3 of the Pro-Am. Now, I want to give an honorable mention as well to Kuffa, because Kuffa had a great Winston on Kings Row against the San Francisco Shock, and it legitimately looked like a pretty close series at times between Timeless and the San Francisco Shock, and Kuffa to Winston. His mechanics were sick. Is he better than Punk? I don't know. that's up for you to decide in the comments. But Kafas Winston was really good as well, so I wanted to give him an honorable mention here towards the tailing end of this video. So that's going to be some of the players that really stood out to me and dominated in day 3 here of the Overwatch League Pro-Am. So let me know who you think really stood out in today's matches, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video here on the Reinforced YouTube channel. Subscribe to the video, or subscribe to the channel rather, like the video, and I'll see you tomorrow for another day of Watch Party. It's gonna be good. Take care.